Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is Jacob. Today, for our intro, I am joined with my co-host, Lily. How's it going?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
Good. Yeah, me too. So we got a good interview coming up. We're excited to share that with you here in a sec. But before we do, Lily and I were going to chat a little bit about getting back into hobbies after you've gotten into your recovery from Kratom. So I'll let Libby start us off and then I'll chime in and we'll see where we go.
Hey, yeah. So getting back into hobbies in recovery. So I just wanted to start out by saying that in general, my whole life, I've defined myself as a creative soul. I went to art school. I did all kinds of art throughout my life, and I was always very creative in general. And during my period of use with Kratom, a lot of that went away. And it's almost like the desire went away, the interest in it in general went away, and my main interest and focus was just using the Kratom product and getting into that unhealthy cycle. And even if I did say to myself, I haven't drawn anything in a while, I haven't made any art in a while, I should sit down and make some art, I would put pen to paper and I would stare at it and be like, what am I even doing? Everything just went away, like the normal brain patterns of wanting to do it and then being able to do it and then having any kind of dopamine hit from creating art. It wasn't there. I just wanted the dopamine hit from Kratom, unfortunately. And then when I quit, I had the anhedonia, which is lack of pleasure from things that you like to do. So I, again, had no interest, had no desire. I was horrified. I thought I messed up my brain permanently. And only after quite a few months, I'm over 2 years off of Kratom now. And now I have a consistent desire to be creative in little ways. I have little craft projects at home that I'm consistently working on here and there. I get little hits of dopamine because I do a little bit here and there. And I have less of the all or nothing approach of, oh gosh, it doesn't count unless I do art for 8 hours straight, or it doesn't count unless I start and finish the project in one day. And it's more of like that continual maintenance, and I don't even have to be consistent. I'm not going to tell you, oh, do art for every day for 1 hour, because it's not about that. It's having the drive to do it again, answering the call and taking some action, even if it's 10 minutes and I actually want to and I actually like it and it's great.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience.
My experience is very similar. I'm not a visual artist by any means, but I've always been musically inclined, produced music, DJ, play a bunch of instruments. I didn't really do any of that. I didn't pick up a guitar for probably 4 years when I used Kratom. I don't think I bought one record, and I primarily DJ on vinyl in four-ish, maybe three. I'm sure I bought one during that time frame, but hardly any. For two reasons. One, I just didn't have the desire, like you said. Everything you said, I completely and totally relate to, so I don't even have to reiterate it. But I also, with a financial hit from spending all my excess money on that crap, I didn't really have the funds to be dabbling in that. I
Yeah.
also have other hobbies that tend to cost money, and I didn't do them. I didn't go snowboarding as much. I have a modest interest in watches, and I didn't even look at any. Certainly didn't buy any. Not that I've bought any recently, but all of that went away because I just didn't have any sort of desire whatsoever to do any of it. But yeah, as you stated too, it's all come back. I've taken a lot of DJ gigs lately, bought some records. I've slowly but surely been working on some new tunes. Like you said, though, my creative process is a little bit sporadic, but I've always been like that. So that's not a knock on anything. That's just how you kind of
Yeah.
stated it. But I don't stress about, oh, I didn't finish it today, or I said I was going to finish this week and I didn't do it. It'll get done if and when it gets done.
Yeah. I think some of the pressure gets lifted. Maybe that's just a lot of therapy and just self-care and being nice to yourself and just working on the positive self-talk. But I do notice that I'm less hard on myself about the content or the amount of time spent or if it's worthy or not. It's just creating for the sake of creating. And I did not understand that concept before recovery. It just didn't connect with me. And I didn't find that to be true at all. And I think I stressed myself out. And then when it went away and came back, then I'm like, oh, wait, I do this again. I do want to do it. And 10 minutes makes me happy. And 1 hour makes me happy. And all day too. But I don't have to have it one way for it to quote unquote count. It all is wonderful. And I'll take it when I have time for it. And I'm glad that you
Yeah.
started doing music again and DJing again. And yeah, buying records and watches, yeah, that takes extra income that doesn't appear out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah, definitely doesn't. Yeah, and the same thing with the putting unneeded stress on myself. That's probably the therapy too. But yeah, like I remember even pre-kratom drinking and not taking care of myself. I'd do a lot of work. I'd put together like a track I was really happy with. I'd send it to a label and I wouldn't hear anything. And I'd be like, yeah, this is so good. Why is it not getting any attention? And now I don't care. They could pick it up if they want to, or I'll release it myself, or I like it. I'll play it out. It doesn't matter. So it's more for me versus I'm doing it pseudo for myself, but also for some sort of like validation that I honestly just don't need.
Yeah, the validation part, I feel like I don't need as much about much of that as before. Not that I knew that I did, but I look back now and realize that I needed more external validation and approval. And now I really don't care.
Yeah. Some of that might be getting older too. I think we're a couple years
Maybe. How
apart
old are
in
you?
age, but I'm 43.
Okay, I'm 38. We have
Yeah.
so many years of wisdom between us.
Yeah. As you get, for our younger listeners, as you get older, you tend to not care as much about what anybody thinks, to be
It's
honest.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
God.
listeners, you tell us if you feel like your hobbies have come back, or if you lost them during your kratom usage and they haven't come back. I hope they do. And if you didn't, when you kept it up, good for you. That's great. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And I think with that, we'll get you on to our interview for this week.
Enjoy.
Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Charlie, and this week our guest is Justine. Hi, how you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be here and glad to be on the other side of quitting kratom.
Yes, thanks for sharing your story. And why don't you start off with an introduction of yourself?
Okay. I'm a 58-year-old, just turned 58 female, born and raised in the New York City area, moved to the Northwest for many years, big time athlete. I worked as a massage therapist for a while, always big into working out at the gym, running, lifting a little bit. A series of unfortunate events brought me back to the East Coast about 10 or 11 years ago, back to where I grew up. Thought I would never come back, but did, and happy to be back here now.
All right. And when did you quit Kratom?
I had my first time I quit kratom was in October 2022, I believe. I've been taking it for a couple of months. Somebody at the gym recommended it as an energy boost and a little bit of a pain reliever for like sore muscles. I was mostly doing powder at that time, moved to a little bit of the extracts, and then realized I was in trouble. So quit it cold turkey, not pleasant. And then I picked it up again this past fall of 2024 after a hip replacement surgery where I'd been prescribed opiates. And of course, those ran out. And I remembered kratom. I was working at a small shop and there was a cigarette news store right next door. Went in one day, saw the extract shots, thought, oh, yeah, I could do that again responsibly. And I justified it because I had hip replacement surgery, which I actually have to have the whole surgery revised next month because my original surgeon screwed it up, but I went back into it, just was going to do a little a day. Of course, it snowballed to needing more and more, but I justified it because I was in legitimate pain and I needed to be able to work and my job was physical. So I thought I could just quit it at any time. So my final quit was about May 10th of this year. So I think it's about 4 months now.
Between those two blocks of time, different distinct experiences. The first one, mostly powder, a little bit of extracts. I think this time,
Age, I was doing the extracts and then the extract pills. I had some issues which forced me to know I needed to get off the stuff. I'm an addict through and through. So, yeah. But in between the two kratom forays into kratom, I didn't have a very pleasant withdrawal the first time I quit. I remember just feeling off and just not feeling myself and really bitchy and moany, but I got through it. But I've been all about opiates and pain pills since the first time I discovered them, which was probably in my 40s when I got some stitches in Seattle where I was living, and the doctor prescribed like 30 Percocets. And I took a few and then put them aside and then picked them up another time recreationally and was loved how I felt. Anything that works as an opiate, I'm sunk.
all right. This time around, what was some of the negatives that happened that started to make you get out of?
Yeah. So I started, like I said, I was working. There was a shop next door, picked up, I won't mention the brand, extracts and would take a little nip here and a little nip there during the workday. And the first time I did it after not doing it for a few years, I got that great feeling of, oh, yeah. I remember I think we were hanging like a Thanksgiving decoration in the shop I was working in. And it was like my pain was gone from my hip. I was happy. I had energy. I didn't need to eat. And I thought I could maintain that. But of course, and I never, as soon as I tasted the extracts again, too, I was just like, oh, I don't like this. But I didn't want to do the powder because the powder just was harder to do. And it was like carrying around water and just trying to mix it in. So
Yeah.
the extracts were more convenient. I could hide them in my purse at work and just get a little nip here and there. But I remember taking a little too much in one dose and feeling like the wobbles and nauseous. But I was just like, okay, I just need to do a little less. And that would get me through my work day. And then I would come home and I wouldn't eat all day. And then I would crash. And then it started that I would start taking it earlier in the day, not waiting till I got to work, but doing it first thing when I got up, but always stopping by 4 in the afternoon. And like most drugs, the tolerance builds, and I ended up needing more. And there was a cost factor to it, spending like initially $20 every 2 days, and then it becomes $20 a day because I think each shot was about $20. And then I thought, well, I don't want to do the extracts anymore. So I went to the same shop and I saw these OPMS capsules, the gold and the black. And I'm like, oh, okay, those. And I thought they were just like the regular kratom capsules, not realizing they're like extracts in powder form. And so I started taking those. And I think it was about after, I don't know, maybe a month of those. Again, I would take one and then I need two and then I need three a day. And there was a place I could buy one, get one 50% off. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm saving money. But I started to really not feel well. And mostly where it affected me was felt like I wanted to throw up all the time. But I had this burning feeling in my gut. And I thought maybe I got a bad batch. I tried eating with it, nothing. And finally led me to quit was I woke up and I hadn't gone to the bathroom and it made me so constipated. I hadn't gone to the bathroom in a week and I had this burning feeling in my stomach and I couldn't eat. I couldn't even swallow food. And I'm like, something's really wrong. And I'm like, it's got to be the kratom. Maybe I got poisoned. Maybe there's salmonella in it. But I quit that day and 2 days later ended up in the ER. And then following that, almost 7 weeks of a hospitalization for a colon that had completely just shut down. I had like a pseudo bowel obstruction and it was like my colon went to sleep and I thought, can't be the kratom. And of course, it could have been a factor of a lot of things, but it coincided with the escalating kratom use. And I was in a bad way physically for a long time. And I narrowly avoided getting my colon removed. And of course, the doctors are like, we can't figure out why this happened to you. And I'd had another hip surgery. And they said, well, maybe it's the hips because it's in that same area of your body. have you been taking opiates? And I thought, and I had to tell him. And a lot of doctors haven't even heard of kratom, more probably now. I told him I haven't been taking prescription opiates for several months, but I've been taking this stuff called kratom. And some of the younger medical doctors or medical doctors' assistants, they were totally aware of what it was. And at that time, it was getting in the news more. So I'm not sure if that hadn't happened to me, I would have actually quit. So it was a scared straight moment for me. And I was very sick for a number of weeks and it terrified me, that stuff. So that's how and why I finally quit.
So you were able to say stopped after your hospitalization?
Oh, yeah, because I look at that and there's not even an interest now in my state. They've recently banned kratom here in Connecticut, but even if they hadn't, and there's still, you can still see it in some of the gas stations under different names. No, because it's the universe said, if you do this again, you may die or you may lose your colon. And I don't want to have a colostomy bag.
Yeah.
And I don't have it doesn't there's no I have not had cravings or anything like that, which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for. But I also know that addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And if you get like a couple more years in between the last time you used it, and you can forget what withdrawals are like, and you can hopefully not forget a hospitalization. But so I'm very vigilant, and I actually we'll get to this. I work a recovery program now. So
Great. Yeah, we want to hear about that. Yeah, that's a very not going to the bathroom for a week. And traditionally, kratom was like in native Southeast Asia was served as a remedy for diarrhea.
sure.
We're not doctors here. We can't, but I'm sure it didn't help things.
No, and the thing is, it was even before when I was getting ready to quit because I had this burning stomach thing, and I was like, my I looked like I was 9 months pregnant, and yet it wasn't. I was just like, "Oh, this isn't just constipation." Like, I truly, to this day, am not sure I didn't get a bad batch. I don't know. I know it's unregulated. There could be anything in there, heavy metals, salmonella. It doesn't matter because for my body, and when I quit, I thought, I'll just quit it because then eventually my colon will start up again. Because I've been through opiate withdrawals before where you go from being constipated to having the runs. And I had nothing like that. Like it was just dead on arrival. And yeah,
How
that,
was how were your withdrawals while you were in the hospital?
oh, they were bad. But again, it's hard for me to know because I was in such bad shape. I was in so much physical pain from my GI issues. I wasn't sleeping, most likely withdrawals, but also because I was in so much discomfort and I was in the hospital. So I had people waking me up all the time. And it's interesting because I put two and two together. So the good news is I went through the month or so of just feeling terrible and not sleeping well when I was in the hospital already. So I was already sick and I refused any pain medication. They weren't willing really to give me much anyways because it's not good for the GI tract. So it's hard to know if my withdrawals would have been lessened if I didn't have such a bad GI situation. And you don't get much sleep in the hospital anyways. So after about 4 or 5 weeks, I started sleeping better, but it took a long time and a lot of medical intervention for me to get my digestive system, which is still not great. It's way better now, but back online. And so I guess I'm lucky that my withdrawals weren't in my own home where I could have been like, fuck it, this is too much. I'm going to go get some more kratom. They were in the hospital where, I mean, I thought I was dying there for a while and I wanted to for a little bit of the inpatient experience because I couldn't eat. I lost a lot of weight. It was scary times. I ended up in the ICU. And so I'm like the poster child for just don't ever start taking this stuff because I'm an extreme example of a really bad experience, but I'm sure I'm not the only one.
How are you managing pain now? I know you said you need to have your hip.
Yep. Tylenol and Advil and a lot of ice. We now know why my initial hip replacement surgery, I didn't have a normal recovery because my original surgeon, made a lot of errors, which in a way validated my pain because I thought, but even my new revision surgeon, he's an opiate sparing doctor, but it's all in my charts now. This opiate addict abused kratom because I need to make sure that it's known. When I have this revision surgery, it's going to be a big deal. They got to yank the stem out of my femur. They got to replace the cup because it's not in the right position. I have a leg length discrepancy. while I'm in surgery, I'm not gonna be awake and biting a bullet, but I am very clear that none or minimal pain relief after the surgery, and if it's any, it will be given to the person I live with to dole out to me, but yeah, so I deal with the pain, ice and Tylenol and Advil. I know it won't last forever, this pain, but the Kratom just masks the pain anyways, it doesn't actually cure the problem,
Yeah.
and I probably overdid it at work because I was on Kratom and I was doing maneuvers I shouldn't have, lifting things, like, on my feet all day. That's how I'm managing.
Yeah, I've had some listeners that said that they were running on a broken,
Oh, yeah,
and because and the kratom was enabled them to do it, but it was masking the pain and
sure.
they hurt themselves worse.
Yeah, when I first did my first foray into it, when I was still working out, it was long before the hip surgeries. I would mix the powder in a kombucha bottle of all things with water, and I would chug a little and go out and work out, and occasionally I would chug too much and have to go back in the women's locker room and throw up. But I was, like, invincible. I was lifting weight. I'm not a big woman. I was lifting weights. I was doing cardio for 3 hours, and it was the answer to all my prayers until it like most things that aren't good for us, it totally backfired on me. But I was getting injured a lot, and I just would use more Kratom, but the Kratom was allowing me to get more injured, so it's just this circular madness.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I introduced to kratom too. Was I started running 5Ks and
Go forever.
I was around right around when I was turning 50, so things are
Mhm.
the same as when I was in my 20s.
Well, also being in my later 50s now, it's like I'm not one of these young people, like, that I read about, and I'm like, don't I know better than to go to the gas station and buy something that's unregulated? But it's my brain chemistry, man. It just lit it was the answer to everything. Of course, it was almost my demise as well.
Yeah, that's a good why don't you talk about your previous experience with addiction?
So I think I've always been an addict of some sort. I had an eating disorder when I was younger. I was addicted to exercise. I would never miss a day of working out. If I did, like the world would end, my world would end. And like I said, the first time I really ever had pain medication possibly was with a dental thing when I was in my teens, and I think they prescribed Vicodin, but it made me throw up, and I never thought about it again. But then I had stitches in my hand, and like I mentioned earlier, the nurse who stitched me up gave me a bottle of 30 Percocets. Now this is a long time ago, but that's still way more Percocets than anybody with stitches in their hand would need. And I remember walking because I was walking everywhere when I lived in Seattle, walking to the pharmacy, picking them up, and then I had a short walk home, and the pharmacist, "Don't take these to you get home if you're driving." I'm like, "I'm not. I'm walking." And I took one, and I was like, "Oh, yeah. It's like a warm hug from Jesus with honey or something." And finished those bottles of Percocets off, and then I was working as a massage therapist, and one of my clients had a back surgery. And if you want drugs, you're going to go find them. You'll find them. At least this is before the fentanyl was added to everything. And I score some perks or Vicodins from people I knew. And then I would leave it because I wouldn't have any anymore. And I don't remember going through any withdrawals or something, but I always remember thinking, oh, I like how I feel on that. And then fast forward, I broke my collarbone a couple years ago, was prescribed opiates after that and took them all because, again, 5 milligrams every 8 hours. I'm like, I'm taking 20. And so they were gone. And then I didn't think about it again. And then I started having hip pain. And then again, was prescribed opiates after a surgery, was like, oh, yeah, I remember this. And then in the back of my mind, both times I went and fell into kratom abuse was when I ran out of pain pills and was like, "Oh." And then you'd read these things like, "Oh, but kratom helps you get off of opiates." So I'm like, "Okay, it can't be as bad," but of course I could never moderate it, so it was just as bad. But it's funny, I don't drink. I did in college. I could take or leave alcohol. Doesn't do it for me. Weed makes my body hurt and I feel stupid on it and makes my hip hurt more ironically because I don't stop focusing on it. I'm like, "Oh, my hip." Luckily, never got into some of the hardcore, like heroin, cocaine, all of that, but anything that works as an opiate in my little brain, and oh, yeah, we have that connection. So, kratom was just an easy way to get the same effects without having to, like, break a law, and you could just walk into any shop and get them. And then they came out with kratom sodas, I never drank those, but or the kava bars. Yeah. It's interesting though, and I think this is the thing about addiction is you can convince yourself that you are justified in using this stuff, and memories are short sometimes, and I journaled both times I quit kratom. This last time I was in the hospital, I had nothing better to do about just how horrendous I felt and how bad those withdrawals were, and I'm not gonna get rid of those journals because if I ever get a bee in my bonnet to ever try something like that again, I wanna go back and really remember, like, how horrendous and harrowing it was for me. And yes, people, it is addictive.
Yes, and kratom comes with this all this pro marketing and culture that feeds into our justifications. It's natural. It's not as bad
Made
as
from a plant, so is opium. Heroin's made from a
it.
poppy, Or
it
it's like the coca leaves in Peru where they chew them to give them a little bit of a buzz to function at altitude, but enough of those, you're in trouble, just because it grows in nature.
yeah,
And most drugs are made from things found in nature, actually. I just think, yeah. And you know what? We can fool ourselves. That's the thing. But at the end of the day, it's pretty hard to lie to yourself ongoing if you have all this evidence that what you're doing is harming you or making you barf. Or the color of my skin. I right after I quit, I was at a memorial service for my partner's mother, and my own mother was at this service. And she said to me after, she goes, "You look hard, like your skin is gray." And she had no idea I was back on kratom. She goes, "You look horrible." And I was like, "Oh, my stomach just hurts." But when I look at it, you just don't look well when you're abusing this stuff. That's was true for me. I think that's true for other people too, from what I've heard. It's like your skin gets this gray pallor and yeah, not good.
I've seen a lot of before and after pictures on social media, and I think there is something to that.
Yeah. I just looked unwell and I was unwell. And I don't know, I'm anti kratom. I know there's some people that are very pro kratom and say it can be used responsibly, but after what I went through, I would say, especially it being unregulated, that's pretty terrifying. I think I dodged a bullet.
Yeah, 7 weeks in a hospital.
Yeah, exactly. And just the malnourishment alone, and also it's the money, how much money you end up spending. It's crazy. I wasn't making a lot of money. And I look back and I did a little bit of back of the envelope math on how much my addictions cost me. And it's with that money, I could have taken a trip or done something really meaningful. And it's stuff that you drink or you swallow the pill and you end up needing to spend more and more money and it's not cheap and they suck you in. It's like everything.
Yeah, the loyalty programs and
Yep.
the 2-for-1 deals or buy
Yep.
10 and get that one free. And
Yep. That's how they hook you. It's like, "Here," and I think, like, the shots I still see are in little blue bottles, everybody. They're still out on the shelves in Connecticut, and yet kratom's now banned here, so maybe it hasn't taken effect yet, but there's plenty of places it's still legal. I think, though, in it looking back, when it'll be people, if they're going to treatment centers now, it's not just for getting off of other drugs, and I thought the first time I quit, I'm like, who would need to go inpatient for quitting kratom? It's not like that bad. It's not getting off of benzos or something, but a lot of people do, and people use MAT to help them get off. That means it's serious stuff to quit.
uh,
Yeah.
in Connecticut, my understanding is, yeah, the legislature reversed. It was legal there and reversed that, but it went to some kind of rulemaking
Oh, I see. Okay.
either in some health department or something, but it is in a gray area. I don't know if you have a board of pharmacy, a board of,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that has to make the rules if I understand right.
I just, what's and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What's so scary to me, and I didn't think about it when I was using it, but now I'm like, wow, is if there's no regulations, like what is in some of this stuff? Are there heavy metals in there? Can people get I felt like I had food poisoning, but without the diarrhea part of it. I felt like I'd been poisoned. That last couple of weeks I was taking the extract pills. I felt like I'd been poisoned. And something went on to shut down my system so much. So that's where it's the unregulated stuff is just it makes it more terrifying, really.
Yeah, there has been batches of that where they find toxic metals, been cases of other contaminants in them. And then when there is testing, it's industry self-testing.
And prove that what you're getting is fine. Yeah.
Buy from a reputable dealer.
Yeah.
Uh,
If there is any. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good advice, but there are still a lot small companies that operate out of their basements and out of their garages,
Oh,
and
sure.
the selling of them out of Ziploc bags, that is not as with a handwritten sticker on it.
No.
It's not as frequent as it was, but yeah.
Well, also how it affects the brain, like, I'm thinking about all the different alkaloids, and it acts like an antidepressant, but also a pain reliever and also an energy boost, and I think that's what makes the wood I quit opiates once cold turkey. I'm not recommending anybody go cold turkey if you don't want to. I just know for myself, tapering is not ever an option with me when I'm done. I don't want the stuff around, and I just why prolong the agony? But, of course, the opposite of prolonging the agony is you're in agony right away. But my wanting to just quick fix the get off the stuff is the same reason I'm an addict, that I wanna just get rid of the pain and try something. There's probably a moderate way to get off this stuff that's not so torturous on the body, but when I quit an opiate addiction, long before kratom, I remember not sleeping for about a month, and I had a week of sort of the chills and the fever, and I just felt anxious out of the blue, which was a horrible experience, but I would say my kratom withdrawals, especially this last time, were way worse than just coming off of regular old, like, Percocets and things, because there was this depression too. It was the insomnia, the gut problems, the just anxiety, but I felt really, like, suicidally depressed getting off of kratom, and again, my good fortune or bad fortune was to be in the hospital, so it's like I couldn't just off myself or even threaten to, or I would have been in a psych ward, but it acted on my brain, these last withdrawals, in a way that were far more worse than just withdrawing from straight opiates. There's a lot of things about how it affects, at least my brain, that
Y yeah,
complicate.
no, that's really scary to have the health scare plus the mental health
Oh, yeah.
issues compounded, but yeah, it does. It feels like you're coming off an antidepressant, an
Mhm.
SSRI, while you're also coming off of Adderall, also coming off of an opioid.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Maybe a little bit milder, but not for everybody. Some of us, it feels like full strength drug.
Yeah, yeah, and I was abusing it, and I'm not a big person, and I was taking my tolerance. The thing is too, is like once an addict, always an addict, but my tolerance would build so quickly because the brain's, "Oh, I remember this stuff. Oh, yeah," and then so I went from 0 to 60 every time I re-dipped my toe in the opiate or kratom pond because, yeah, my tolerance would build so quickly, and it's like chasing the dragon, you never get that first time feeling again anyways. You want to, and that's why you keep doing it, and you keep doing more, but it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, for of us that have a lifelong addiction issues, I think there is this kindling. They call it kindling.
Yep,
There is kindling like in alcoholics. Like if you're
yep,
a long term alcoholic,
yep,
your earlier use compounded
yep,
and it sticks with you long term, and your later withdrawals are worse. And I think there's some cross kindling
yep.
with kratom. So you had the whole history of your previous addiction, and then you interrupted it for a while, and you started it up again. And
Oh, it was right back at it, and because your brain, "Oh, yeah," lights up right away, "We remember this." Yeah, but,
you
like,
mentioned that you're doing a program of recovery.
yep, I have a therapist. I wasn't even telling her I was doing kratom. She knew about my previous this is the other thing, of course, it thrives in total secrecy. I know of people who are in marriages and their spouses don't know, and I'm just like, oh. But I finally confessed to her while I was in the hospital, I was still speaking with her weekly, that part of the reason I had landed there was what I thought was quitting this opiate, is kratom, and she's, "You're doing that again?" I'm like, "I was." But she's like, "Why don't you join?" She's a recovered alcoholic of many years, but I have this AA home group. It meets every morning at 9 to 10. And she's, "I think you would love this group." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not an alcoholic." She's like, "It doesn't really matter." And so this group has now become like my family. And so I don't really miss many meetings, but I don't identify as an alcoholic. I'm like, "Hi, I'm Justine. I'm a drug addict." But it's the same thing. It's just the 12 steps for me. I had to get a little bit of a battle with the higher power, but the higher power can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a doorknob, it can be nature. But what I like about the structure of the group is you get to hear other people's experience, strength, and hope. There are people who are cross addicted alcoholics and drug users. And the steps just, it's a way to live your life. And I don't think I need this group to stay off of kratom, but it's a place where I am accountable and they know I'm going to have this surgery next month. And it's, have you told your doctor? I'm like, yes, I have. So it's really helpful because we got people in that program who've been sober for years and years. And then you get people who are like newly sober. And it's just the structure I think I like because I know I'm powerless over opiates. I just don't want to ever experience what I've been through. And so that's really, and then just, God, getting honest with yourself because we lie to ourselves so much. I got this. I can quit anytime. Nobody knows. It's not that much money. It's legal. You can buy it at the gas station. You can go to the store when you get your lottery ticket, and people are doing it and working out. So it's a health tonic.
Yeah.
All the ways we justify it. So I don't want to slip back into that.
Yeah. And for me, at least it's not booze, or at least
Right.
it's
Right.
not it's not a Vicodin pill.
Yeah, you're not IVing heroin or fentanyl, but we can justify anything.
Yeah. And it is a sneaky thing because it does give you some performance benefits, especially at the beginning.
Yep.
It fades,
Mm.
but it fades and then the performance disappears.
The first time I quit kratom when I was still active and going to the gym long before the hip disaster, that first month I was off of it, I had no energy to work out. I was just like, oh, and I'm like, I know exercise is going to help me feel better, but like, I was just that atahonia, I can't even say it, where you just have no,
Dania?
and thank you. You have no oomph for anything. But I was like, when everybody at the gym's like, God, why aren't I was like the girl that was like there for hours. And when I went off of that stuff, and I was also taking something called gabapentin at the same time, abusing that because I had nerve pain and I was getting stupid on that stuff. So I quit kratom the first time at the same time I quit gabapentin. Not recommended. Everybody don't quit everything on the same day, but I just dragged myself through the world for the first, oh, it took a while, month or so, and then slowly got better. So yeah, we justify it, but I'm just not someone that can use anything responsibly. That's just, yeah.
How
No.
did you find the podcast?
When I first quit in May, I was in the hospital and I watched a bunch of YouTubes on withdrawal. Someone's like, I'm on day 4. And they're like, I really don't feel good, but hey, I went to the bathroom today. And I'm like, these fuckers are like getting better so quickly. I was on like 2 weeks and I was just like in the hospital. So watched a bunch of YouTube things. And then I'm not sure if it was through YouTube or I was just on my Apple Podcast app on my phone. And I had a lot of time in the hospital where I didn't feel well enough to read even. Or watch TV. And so I listened to podcasts or audiobooks. And I think I just must have typed in the search bar, quitting kratom. And I don't think there's any other podcast, to be honest. And there might be now. I still listen to all the episodes. And I was like, oh my God, thank goodness there's a podcast because first I was like, maybe it's just not even like other people are getting off of this stuff quicker. But the fact there's a podcast about quitting kratom makes me know it's a problem and people need that support. And I got a lot out of people's stories.
There's a lot of commonalities and we're not alone. And yeah, if we can normalize quitting.
Right. And also just help people know that there's nothing wrong with them, that they're having a hard time getting off of this stuff or that they're physically not feeling well when they quit it. I think there's people out there, what's wrong with me? And here's the thing, you can go on Reddit or all these other places and you're going to get the range from I quit, had no withdrawals, I was fine, and then you get the people who are like, I've relapsed 100 times and every time it's harder and I've used all the family's money up, the college funds for the kids, my wife is threatening to leave me. So those are 2 extremes, but I think for most of us, our experience lies in the middle where we do have a physical thing that we have to get through and a mental and emotional. And I think your podcast and some of the other like ways that you can get a realistic idea because it verifies that they're not weak because they're having a hard time getting off of this. But some of those really scary stories when people are on the 7-OH, which now to me is just terrifying. I'm glad I'm not interested in that. I would have been though. I probably would have moved to that at some point. I look at those and think, "Oh my God, I dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
I dodged a bullet." But you get strength from other people's stories, and if they can quit, then I can quit. then somebody else could listen to this and they might be like, shit, I hope I don't end up in the hospital, but she did and she's not taking it anymore.
I started off on the Reddit, and there's a phenomenon of the doom scrolling
Yeah, for
Reddit,
sure.
and the horror stories, and it can get a little bit overwhelming. And then, yeah, then you can go the other way where there's this total denialism of
Mm,
like, if you go down the wrong rabbit hole, it's all user error. If Kratom's not working for you,
yeah.
you're defective.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I'm 58 and I think I should know better, whatever. But it's like, it's all ages too. There's people who quit drinking at 70 when they've been lifelong drinkers. There's people who get sober at 19. And it's the same with drugs. So I'm a white upper middle class woman who should know better and was an athlete and health oriented. And I'm actually a recovering drug addict. It comes in all sizes and shapes. You never know what the average addict looks like.
Yeah. I've had a lifelong problem with alcohol, and I went up one period where I didn't drink for 10 years, and I did relapse. And then I had to fight to get sober again.
Yep, of
And,
course.
and I did a lot of effort. I went to a lot of meetings and I worked the steps, and I felt a little blindsided by the Kratom because I never properly used a prescription painkiller before.
Yep.
I never had withdrawals for them, and I never went and got found.
Under a bridge or something.
So I was really blindsided
Mm.
by the withdrawals of Kratom because that was the first time I ever, oh, wow, this is what they're talking about in Train Spotting.
Yes, when he jumps into the toilet, and I don't know what I'm sure on the earliest podcast, you probably shared your own story. Yeah, you just don't know. You don't know. Every brain is different, but like I said, it acts as so many different things, kratom. So I think coming off of it is just, for me, it was horrendous and just really scary. I want people to get off this stuff, especially if they want to, before it ends up really destroying their lives physically and then all the other ways, your relationships and financially. Gosh.
The first time you quit, did you experience some pause like at the
Oh, yeah. Yep. Again, I kept a really good journal for about 3 months because I remember, again, hanging everything on Reddit. And they're like, pause can go on 90 days. And then you'd hear the stories like, I had pause for 5 years. I'm like, yes. If I went back and read that journal, I would definitely know I did. I think it was that just lack of interest in anything. This time, I haven't had the same pause, but I don't know if it's because I was in such a harrowing situation in the hospital and that maybe the universe just got it all over. Now, I've been off kratom like 4 and a bit months. I haven't felt like I've had I felt like it's been a trajectory up. I haven't had any setbacks. But of course, I have a hip that's so excruciatingly painful. So I'm used to being uncomfortable, but I sleep well. My head is clear. My memory's good. My appetite's getting better. My stomach seems to be functioning. I think that's going to take a little while to come back online. But I'm in the.
Yeah, I was brought up because sometimes it's a secondary
Yep.
wave
Yep.
of symptoms that people have, and they're surprised by it.
I was just so relieved I eventually got out of the hospital and then I didn't die, that I think just I didn't go outside for 7 weeks almost, because you don't really go outside at the hospital because you only go out when you leave.
Yeah,
The lack of fresh air, I was just so happy to sit out in the yard again. I
yeah.
miss a portion of spring and summer. Yeah, I don't know. My pause might have been just masked by all the other horrible physical things I was feeling. I think there's that pink cloud too, where you quit and you get through it and you're like so proud of yourself and you count the days at first and then you stop counting the days. I think that's interesting too. I think that's where the scariness comes in with any addiction, is memory kind of fades and then you get through it and then you get through the pause and then, you can fool yourself into thinking you can do it again or you can do something else again. But yeah, not me.
I know it's a little early on still, it was May, but what are some of the positive benefits?
But the fact that I have my own colon, the fact that I can eat now, the fact that I sleep well, the fact that I get up in the morning and for so long you get into this routine, like where I just would think about it all day. It's okay. When am I going to start taking I try to like wait. I'm not going to take any till 10. And then of course 10 becomes 9, 9 becomes 8. And then I got to stop by 4. So that mental chatter of like, when am I going to take it? Knowing I got to get off of this at some time, but today's not the day. When do I need to buy more? like knowing where it all is in your house, knowing exactly how much you have left. That frees up a lot of mental space now, not having to think like that. I like to get up and have a cup of coffee. I have an online meeting every morning at 9. I have so many doctor appointments right now. If the weather's nice, that helps. But I think it's just feeling emotions again, feeling like just clear-headed and not dependent on this thing that I know is not good for me. And here's the thing too, and this is probably true for so many people, is at the end, I was just taking it so I wouldn't feel sick, but I really wasn't getting a benefit of it anymore. Or if I did, it was so short-lived, and then you need more and more, and I didn't like the taste of it. And the extract pills were just starting to hurt my stomach. So I think it's just you're just doing it because it's habit, and for me, I was doing it because it was habit, but also doing it because I didn't wanna I knew if I stopped, it was gonna suck,
Yeah.
and it did suck. But just having that freed up mind and things look better, they taste better, there's such a depression that comes when you're taking it too. I just sexually just was like, "Ugh, who cares?" You just feel kinda rotten, and, music didn't sound good, and food didn't taste good, and it's just all of that is cleared out. And also, I have to deal with my emotions too, and my pain, my emotions. It's like rather than just numbing out or having the high of when you're feeling good, and then, when it wears off, that crash. And I would crash hard. I'd be like, "Oh, fuck," you just feel awful. And I was a bitch by the end of the day because I hadn't eaten all day because I was on Kratom and it didn't make me hungry. And yeah, so all of that, I'm glad it's over.
So, is there a message you'd like to tell your future self a year from now?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, Justine, in a year that your hip's gonna be much better because 'cause you're gonna get the revision done to put everything in the right place. It's gonna hurt, but you're gonna get through it with Tylenol and Advil and a lot of ice and PT. And then you're gonna live your life drug-free. You're gonna go out, you're gonna hike, do all the things you wanna do. You're gonna be able to save money, you'll be able to go back to work, and whatever you do, drugs are not the answer. And if you feel the need to pick up anything again, you make sure you talk to your support group and your sponsor and go back and read your hospital notes because you don't want to end up with like you were there again. And also, I will tell myself, you did it, girl. You did it. You quit drugs again. You got through withdrawals. You got through a hospitalization. 7 weeks in the hospital would make anybody crazy. You had a hip surgery, you walked around in pain, limped around in pain for 14 months. You went through a revision surgery. You're so tough. You're so tough, and you have a bright life ahead of you. And use that strength to stay away from drugs and be of service to other people. Be of service to other people.
I love that. That's perfect. At this time of the interview, we like to shift gears and have a little bit of fun at the end. What kind of music are you into?
It's interesting because I am now at the age where the kind of groups that I like are playing smaller and smaller venues. That being said, I did have the good fortune to go see Oasis a few weeks ago I was in the New York area. That was great. It's interesting. I let Spotify bring in new artists for me, but I always fall back on I'm born at the late 60s. I like classic 80s rock. Never got into the 70s music a little bit, but a good classic rock station. It's because I know all the words to all the songs. I'm clueless when it comes to what, like, younger people are listening to. I couldn't tell you a single song Taylor Swift sings or any of the people that are on, like, the Grammys. So, yeah, it depends on my mood, really. It's more what I don't listen to. I'm not really into hardcore rap. Heavy metal, it depends. Opera, classical if I'm meditating, yes, but, yeah, I'm an '80s girl.
And if money wasn't a question, where would you like to visit and travel in the world?
I have roots in England. Both my parents were British, so I have been to the UK a number of times, but I'd like to go and see some of the countryside. There's so many old, like, Roman ruins there and things like that. I lived in Seattle for many years and I had opportunity to go to Asia a few times, but I really wanna go to Japan. First to Tokyo just because I think it'll blow me away. It's such a different culture. I wanna eat, like, everything there. And then where else would I like to go? I've been fortunate to travel a lot. I'd like to go back to Australia for a while. It's a huge continent and it takes a while to see everything there. I've always wanted to go to Costa Rica. I don't know. I just have an open mind. So I think somewhere safe, obviously, and somewhere where, like, the culture's different enough that you really have to, you're just like, mind is blown. So that's why Japan, I'm like, oh God, Hello Kitty everywhere. They have the 7-Elevens there that you can like get anything. Yeah. So that would be it. That would,
That's the great thing about Kratom being off of it. We'll have more money to go to those places, and then we don't have to bother worrying about how.
oh my God, these people that are like, I'm going on vacation and I can't bring them with me, so I'm going to withdraw. I'm like, on your honeymoon? That doesn't sound like any kind of fun.
Actually, somebody I knew actually just went to England recently, and they ended up in the hospital there. They had
Oh,
some seizures.
oh shit.
I'm not 100% sure if that was related to the kratom use, but
Probably didn't help.
it coincided when they were coming down from it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Or just being on a plane and being, it's not fun flying now, anyways. It's lost its whole allure. But, or just getting busted somewhere with something. That would terrify me. Like, I would never try to sneak. Yeah. No. No. I saw Midnight Express when I was a kid. That movie was scary. You end up in a jail in Turkey because you're bringing this kratom stuff in. No.
what is your top tip for someone getting ready to quit kratom?
I think what I would suggest is tell somebody. Secrets are like addictions built on secrets, and you're only as sick as your secrets, as they say. So tell somebody, choose a way that's going to work for you, whether it's tapering and get a good tapering plan or a cold turkey if you feel that's a safe enough thing you can do. But I just think you got to tell somebody this is what you're doing, and it's worth it, even if you have to take time away from like a job or something, just because. And if you really feel like you need help, go to rehab. But to try and do it yourself and to try to like, most of the people in your life, like who are close to you, they're gonna figure you were up to something because people aren't stupid. But and it's just never too late. And do it sooner rather than later, because the fears of quitting and the fears of withdrawal, I certainly relate to that. But let me tell you, if I can quit this stuff, anybody can, really. But I think having a good support group and getting everything around you that you might need, but I just don't do it alone if you don't have to. That would be my thing. Yeah.
Thanks for those. And is there an answer to a question that I didn't ask that you'd like to share?
What keeps you off of Kratom? You're doing the podcast. That probably keep forefront of your mind.
At first, the podcast was very helpful because one, it kept me busy. And it was a project that I was learning new skills, and it's like finishing a crossword puzzle
Yep.
kind of thing. And it was public, my quit date, and I was very vested into that. But since then, I've had to add some other things, including therapy, and
Yep.
I've
Yep.
gone to some meetings.
Good.
I spent 2 years now, and I had a long period of pause too, which I found really frustrating because not that I deserved to feel better right away, but like it was unjust.
Oh, yeah. I understand that completely. I ended up in the hospital. What?
Yeah, but I was like, we're kicking out a podcast a week. We got 50 episodes done, and I still feel like crap when I haven't touched anything.
Yeah.
What is wrong with me? And eventually, it just all evened out.
Good. Yeah. I think it's just our brains we've abused them. We have to create new neural pathways, new ways of, yeah, I just think, and you don't always know. Like I said, what does an addict look like? We can't see each other's brains. And yeah, I'm very sensitive to drugs anyways. And I know that about myself. I don't drink, but I'm sure if I liked the taste of it, I would probably could become an alcoholic. So I just choose not to drink.
Yeah, so now I have some other new challenge, nothing major. I've talked about this on earlier episodes. I haven't really started back on the regular exercise routine. I'm definitely addicted to my phone more than ever. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, hours pass, but I guess I'm like any other American.
Your phone's like a drug. It's designed to be addictive by what it looks like, the apps, the people who they're not stupid. The dopamine hits you get from the likes and everything. It's like taking a drug. So I just think it's hard for all of us. We have these drugs in our hands. And my mother's 85 and she's on her phone more than a teenager. I'm like scrolling for no reason. And it's very hard. You could put your phone in black and white mode. That might help.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
looks good in black and white, but it's a discipline too. We're all addicted to our phones. And for better or worse, without the phone, there wouldn't be the podcast, right? So there's some good things. Or the support group you could get on a Zoom meeting or whatever, quitting Kratom website. It's like anything, we have to use it responsibly.
Yep. All things in moderation.
Yeah. Except for drugs. I can't do them moderately.
And I tried what was ridiculous. I had a flip phone for a couple of years, and I did reduce my use, but then I had to have a second device
Right.
to do online banking
Yep.
and
Yep.
maps. And and my kids' sporting apps were only on mobile and
You got
GPS.
sucked back in.
GPS. So then it was like I'm carrying around two iPod and a flip phone
Ridiculous.
in
Right.
the end. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So anyway, it was a joy to talk to another Gen Xer. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm older than you, but what are you, 50? You said 8 years on you.
1970. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. That was a good year. I was 3. All right. It was my pleasure, Charlie. I'll look forward to listening to all of your episodes coming up.
Thank you. Take
All right.
care and best wishes on your hip surgery.
Oh, thank you.